Hey there, astrology lover. Did you know that you can learn practical astrological magic here at Astrology Hub? That's right. We're bringing you a hands-on workshop where you'll learn everything you need to know to get started with Jen Zart, PhD, who's been practicing astrological magic for over 2 decades. I recently asked Jen what students can expect in the upcoming workshop, and here's what she had to say.
Magic is a practice of engaging with, I would call it, the forces of the universe in a devotional way to achieve results. I find that engaging with magic just makes your life better on all levels because it really forces you to think about what do you really want, what is worth doing ritual with, and who are you, who do you want to become. You know, even the desire to change your circumstances points towards a gap that might need to be addressed in a magical and a mundane way.
I just love that. Jen is such an amazing, dynamic, and inspiring teacher, and I'm so grateful that we get to share her wisdom with you in this workshop. So if you're interested in learning a hands-on approach to making magic every day, go to astrologyhub.com/magic and enroll in practical astrological magic today. Class starts on November 15th, so don't miss out. Go to astrologyhub.com/magic. We can't wait to see you in class. Welcome to your weekly astrological weather. This is your place to get practical guidance for not only surviving, but thriving with the cosmic tides. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to your weekly astrological weather. I am so happy that you decided to join us here for this week's Tune in to the cosmic tides. And I am very happy to welcome back to the platform Michelle Dench. She's an evolutionary astrologer and she's amazing. And we're so grateful to have her. She's also going to be an inner circle astrologer with us in 2023, which we're very excited about, as well as one of the astrologers that will be available for readings on our Astrologer Connect platform that is going to be open to more and more of you starting in December. And it's actually going to be open to any of you who register for our forecast event that is happening in December. So if you're interested in joining us for that free event, it's going to be a look at 2023 from 6 different astrologers. Plus, we're going to go through every zodiac sign for the whole year and tell you, which months are going to be more intense, less intense, what themes, what different things you're going to be working with for the year. So that's all happening on December 10th. And you can register for that now at astrologyhub.com/2023 forecast. And I also wanted to take one moment to acknowledge the over 1,400 people who filled out the survey about the weekly weather. So we asked you about the format of the weekly weather because we were considering changing it and making this a shorter segment. But we got your feedback and it was like so overwhelming. First of all, it's the most amount of people that have ever filled out a survey for us. So I saw that you actually care. And then it was very overwhelming that most of you just love the show the way it is. It was like, please don't change it. We love it. So we are going to keep this show the way it is. The thing that we're going to be doing in 2023 is starting a new YouTube channel. For those of you who do like the shorter segments, we will be putting all of our shorter segment type content, like 8-minute to 15-minute episodes, on a new channel. So this channel will stay dedicated to the podcast, which is our longer form interview style weekly weather and the cosmic connection and Christopher's horoscope highlights. All those things will stay on this channel. So we'll make sure that you know where to find everything. And all you need to know right now is everything is staying the same. So thank you again for your feedback and for taking the time to tell us how you feel and what you love about the show. So, Michelle, let's talk about the week ahead. How are things looking? I know we're just coming off a huge astrological week. So what do we have looking ahead?
Yeah, this week feels like, finding your buoy in a time of deep emotional oversaturation. And that can be in any or every area of our life. But, it's like after a tsunami comes through, there was all this like energy moving before the tsunami. And then there's the actual eye of the storm and being in it, which I would say was like eclipse season, the last 2 weeks, really. And then there's the aftermath of what life looks like after we've been faced with so many changes. And when the saturation level of our being, our soul, what we're really calling for, where the divine is actually supporting us to move, reaches this kind of level, the only thing you can do is just like grab your buoy and hold on, and start to unwind what actually this season brought forward. Like, this is the work that we're in now.
And are we going to have more clarity around, is it going to be more clear why certain things happened and why we went through certain experiences as we go through this week?
Yeah, I would say there's 2 types of hindsight. There's near-term hindsight, which is like where you went around the block a couple of times and you didn't get a chance to park. And all of a sudden you realize, well, yeah, that's because I'm in the wrong place. And it's fine that you didn't get to settle, because you're going to just quickly move on to where you're actually supposed to be going. You realize the directions were wrong. And then there's long-term hindsight, which is that you didn't realize that the whole time you were driving in the wrong direction is because there was an accident on the other side of town. And if you had been where you were supposed to be, you would have gotten hurt. And so divine protection is a part of what was keeping you sort of running around in circles. In the near term, you totally realize you're not in the right place, and that's okay. And that you have, to kind of figure out where guidance is taking you. And I think there is some clarity coming, especially with both Venus and Mercury this week, moving out of Scorpio, moving out of the waters and the muck and this trine that they're in to Neptune and Jupiter, and into Sagittarius, moving into a place of like, okay, we know we're the journey. We know that there's something guiding us, and we actually have some wisdom from this period of time. This near-term wisdom is already present. The longer-term wisdom, the longer-term hindsight of why we missed that accident and why we weren't where we were supposed to, that I don't think will manifest for the next several months, and maybe not even till the next eclipse cycle. We're just, we can only sort of deal with the present tense of where we are in that respect.
Michelle, when you work with eclipses, how long do you consider an eclipse window to be? And how long do you consider the eclipses can often be a time of great change, right? So how long is that window of change open, I guess, is what I'm asking.
So eclipses themselves are happening on the nodes of the moon, and that we could think about what's the moon's cycle and what are the nodal cycles, because that really is where this is pointing to. The moon's nodes move every 18 and a half, 19 years, right? So those are longer term cycles. That could be 9 years, back, 18 years back, 9 years forward, 18 years forward. And a lot of us are dealing with big life changes. So when we're looking at those big life cycles, that's a huge and vast space of time to be dealing with. And then the moon moves really quickly every 28 days, every 2.5 days. And so eclipses are often pointing back to that more quick cycle, which can be 6 months to the next new moon or the next full moon, and a 30-day cycle. But when we're talking about eclipses, I think it spans both time periods simultaneously. changes we're making in these next 6 months, the reverberations of that tsunami that I was speaking about earlier, well, it takes a long time to rebuild a town. If the tsunami comes in or if a hurricane comes in, I know that there are different parts of the country that are like facing these kinds of natural disasters. We can all look back at like Hurricane Katrina or events like that in the past, where the next 6 months was totally different for people's lives. And it shaped the course of the next 20 years for many people, completely changing their trajectory. And that's really, just the microcosm of this.
Yeah. So yeah, essentially the events of the last few weeks, whatever has been happening in your life, whatever has been coming up, it's at the scale of the kind of events that do change trajectories. Like there's changes happening. These are, changing the way that the rest of your life will unfold, essentially.
It can be. And I think with the Scorpio Taurus nodal axis, we're talking about fixed matter, fixed earth, fixed water, right? These aren't temporary and subtle changes. These are the places where we're most stubborn, where the past has been most sticky, where no matter how much we've tried, it's like if you've tried to release an addiction, anyone who's really faced the effects of addiction in their life, whether it's a family member, a friend, or yourself, can know that it's one day at a time. You deal with the effects of that, and it can take a lifetime to repair things, right? So the fixed access is really inviting us into really long-term, deep, subterranean changes in our lives that we have to heal things and face things that are uncomfortable, that are, maybe even unfamiliar. We are the first person in our family to really face these things. We're the first person to speak out. We're the first person to make a change and say, hey, I want forgiveness, and I want health in my relationships and in my life. I want to feel emotionally nurtured and cared for in my workplace or in my family. And if I didn't come from that, and if I am not familiar with that, I have to do the uncomfortable and unfamiliar things in order to cultivate that. And I might be the first one ever doing it, breaking patterns. One of the things I heard Stormy Grace talking about is like this cycle of just pattern recognition, right? But if we're breaking patterns in our own life that we're so familiar with those patterns, it's a really challenging thing to invite in the unfamiliar until it takes hold of our lives in a way that feels familiar.
Ooh, this is resonating so deeply, Michelle. I know for me, and I'm thinking probably for people listening as well. I had, and maybe, I don't know if it was you who was the guest, but a few weeks back, I remember telling everyone that I had some back pain and that it was helping me be more aware of the chair that I had been sitting in forever, that I had meant to get fixed, but I never did. I didn't prioritize it. And, just some things that it made me realize in terms of things I was doing that weren't the most healthy for me. Mm-hmm. Well, on Friday, this last week, I got hit again. It was like a Uranus lightning bolt into my lower back. And I was flat on my back for an entire weekend. And I was like, whoa, I got the new chair and I'm wearing the better shoes and I'm not carrying the heavy purse. Like, what else do I have to understand? Mm-hmm. And what I'm seeing, though, is what you're saying is there's some deeply ingrained patterns that are just, it's like, it has to be unraveled. It has to be there. And there's deeper tendrils. And so that's why I was asking these questions about, are we going to have more clarity on why some of the things that are happening, and how to make the necessary changes so that these things don't continue to happen, or that we set ourselves up on the right trajectory moving forward. But it's been so humbling. I'm like, okay, like I'm listening. And what else is there for me to do here? You know, what else do I need to change in order to take care of myself better? You know?
It's profound, that statement, I'm listening, because sometimes when we're, just go, 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 it's not until we're laid out. It's not until we're in that much emotional pain. It's not until, and Neptune, is the planet of surrender, right? Where we give ourselves to the divine. We often feel like our way of doing things and running our life and our, patterns of control or self-protection are serving us. And maybe they have in so many ways. And what I've realized as I'm even looking at 2023, and I'm so excited to be on the panel, for next year and a part of the inner circle, it's like looking at like, oh yeah, this is a whole different way of operating. And in order to really make that evolutionary leap, there's sort of a time of suspension where we don't get like, oh no, I can't direct this show anymore. And I reached that point of despair in my own life in the past, like in this past eclipse season. It was incredibly humbling to really realize like, oh my God, I don't know. And if I'm so used to knowing and I'm so used to going, to be able to say like, okay, what is this showing me? To allow like the pain and the struggle to surface just enough, not for us to be overwhelmed. That's why I say like, hold on to that buoy, because we don't have to let this take us down, right? Difficult things happen, but they happen to illuminate that there is a greater force really guiding us somewhere different. And if we hadn't noticed the chair, if we hadn't been in pain, if we hadn't been willing to listen, we wouldn't be actually opening up the door to something else. And that's what eclipse season does. It closes doors, it opens doors. And it's a powerful time for reorientation of the pattern, for healing of things that just have been out of our reach for so long.
It's so interesting. It feels so ancestral too. Like my mom has always, from the first birth, there's 4 kids in my family. When my oldest brother was born, her back got very affected by that. And so my whole growing up with my mom, she always had lower back, always just consistent, cyclical, long-term pain. And so there's something in this. I'm like, whoa, there's something for both of us that I get to see and help to facilitate a healing for. So my daughters don't have to do this over again, so I hear what you're saying, and it's very encouraging. And I hope that it's encouraging for other people out there who are going through things where it's like, God, I feel like I'm doing everything right. And so why is it still not working? Why are things still messed up? And sounds like it's because we're really dealing with some deep, deep unraveling. And so it's, how grateful can we be for all the signals and the signs and the pain and the different things that are coming up to show us, Yeah. Okay, Michelle. So out of all that, what is the overarching theme? What would you say is the main, like, kind of buoy theme we can hold on to for this week?
Well, I've been working with this thing of who is the master teacher, who is my teacher right now? And a message that I received is like, oh yeah, if I'm feeling as like there's not enough, like my needs aren't being met, that I'm following the teacher, the unmet needs teacher. And if I feel like there's something opening up in me, like a radical love or a new way of learning, a new classroom, if I'm opening the doors to a new classroom in my life, who is my teacher? Is it the teacher of radical love, or is it this teacher of unmet needs? And that's been a big part of my reflection as we're moving out of Scorpio season. Like, we're moving into Sagittarius time, where, of course, there might be a lot of celebration. First Venus midweek and Mercury moving into Sagittarius. There might be a lot more optimism and a sense of, okay, I'm devoted to learning from the teacher that is most going to bring me joy. And if I still feel disconnected from myself, if I'm still doing things that are numbing me and not feeling actually a sense of like my heart being uplifted by life, I'm still listening to the wrong teacher, and we're having to make a shift. Like, I don't want to learn this lesson again, right? Your mom's pattern, like when we notice these family patterns, I realized this week, oh, there's 3 steps to this. There's like recognizing who or what triggers us from the past, right? And that's just, who is this familiar to? What family member or friend or like really close part of our life familiarly dealt with this? And then what is the opposite thing or the different thing that they didn't do that I could do now, right? Because when we look at ancestral patterns, our ancestors maybe didn't have the capacity to do things, to change, but they gave us life, and thus we have a new capacity. This is a way that family healing can definitely come down the line, and we can transform what generationally has been impossible for previous generations to really look at. We now have the power. We have the courage to speak out. We have the capacity to carve out time for self-care, to get the right things in place in our life, the right structures, to really model that for our children, to say, oh, I can do something different than what my family did because I have this in me now to do, and it wouldn't be here if it wasn't ready to heal. That's my perspective.
Whew. Wow, Michelle. Powerful. Okay, so who is your master teacher? And what you're saying is we have a choice. So right now I could choose, like, my back is my master teacher, and that pain, right? It's like, what are you showing me? What I'm listening? What is this opening the door for? So everyone has that right now in their lives, and a choice that they can make in terms of which teacher they want to follow. And I'm not following that back teacher so I can learn this again. I'm like, all right, let's make this the last time. What do I need to know? Okay, Michelle, let's walk through the week astrologically and tell us what you're seeing and what you're basing this on.
Mm-hmm. Right. Monday today is Sun trine Venus, or Sun trine Neptune, Venus trine Jupiter, right? So Sun, Venus in Scorpio, and Jupiter, Neptune in Pisces. This is very strong water energy. This is why I was speaking about this sense of oversaturation, and where we can be kind of feeling under the weather, so to speak, either literally too much rain, too much water, too much crying, too much emotional release. And the real need there with that is like, this is a divine aspect also, right? These are the benefics in astrology, Jupiter, Venus, right? But it's the ability to see the blessings in the discomfort that we're experiencing. Then Tuesday, Venus is at that critical degree of Scorpio, culminating a journey. And we've all been through something the last several months with Venus crossing the South Node and with the eclipses. There's something that we're like, oh yeah, I'm really ready and I'm really done with that. And doing what we need to do to not take anything with us that's unnecessary. So, leave it in the past where it belongs. Because Wednesday, Venus enters Sagittarius, and this to me is a culmination of being able to distill the pain into wisdom, into optimism, into teaching. And if we've truly chosen a new master teacher to bring us forward into a new place in our life, then that means that the teachings resonate with love. They resonate with a higher truth. It means that then we're sort of on a new journey too. And if you're just at the beginning of a new journey, you don't necessarily know where that's going to take you, right? You might even have a map and you might have a plan, but you have no idea what you'll meet along the way. And there's wisdom and discernment in being able to kind of not take so much stuff with us this time around. Thursday, Mercury enters Sag. And I feel like, we're also getting to be Mercury and Venus walking together is like our wisdom, our love, and our thinking sort of lining up and being in lockstep. Mars is currently retrograde in Gemini, right? So the ruler of that Gemini house is Mercury. And whatever is starting in this Mars retrograde journey is a real realignment of our inner will and our self-direction. And when that starts to line up with a different way of thinking, it happens because we're not sourcing our thoughts from the same old patterns, right? We're not thinking the way we used to, or we're not thinking the way other people think. And instead of trying to take other people's truths or other people's past or other people's hurts as our own, we're just taking our own stuff. It's sort of like simplifying your baggage and recognizing, like, this is mine to take with me. And where do I go from here? Now I know, right? I have my letters of operation. I know this is my stuff, right? Your mom's stuff is not your stuff. It's not your life, but it is also, it's information, and you can choose what you take with you, right? What part of the story, where you find yourself in your own life story. This is a really good time to start rewriting a new chapter, and that starts by catching the narrative that has been really strong and maybe even really challenging for the last several months, and just saying, like, oh no, different story. I used to have this thing where you carry like a rubber band on your wrist. Do you ever do that?
Yes. Yes, sometimes I still do, for sure.
And kind of whack catch yourself thinking, right? And in this case, if we just have a new teacher, we're just like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm not doing that lesson anymore. I'm on a new lesson. This is a new curriculum. That's what I'm here for. If something needs to come back around, Mars and Neptune are in this square and they're both retrograde. And so Thursday, the moon opposes Neptune while it's in Virgo, and Mars and Neptune start moving into the tightness of this retrograde square. So there might be still places where, like, oh, okay, I'm not thinking right. I'm not thinking clearly about, it's like if you're in a relationship pattern and all of a sudden you get sucked back into the same kind of conversation again. This is that place where it's like, oh, no, I just remembered I had a moment of clarity that I just don't want to go down that path again. And then we have a choice. And the choice is always with our will, and whether it's really being given to the divine will to something different unfolding, or whether we want to go back and retread the tires over the same place. Friday, the moon moves into Libra, right? And the Libra moon for me is always a test, right? The Virgo moon is self-reflective, right? Through Thursday. When we go from a place of self-reflection, maybe it's hermit time. Maybe we've taken some time, to integrate some of the things I talked about earlier in the week. We've taken our whole thought process onto a different track. The test is always what happens when we get into relationship. Then do we do the same thing again? Do we find ourselves triggered again? Do we find ourselves relating in a new way and getting stronger, And if we are feeling like we get dragged back to a past pattern, the Libra moon brings us into a place of relational wisdom. Relationship is that one place where we can't avoid ourselves and we can't avoid the other. And Venus is all about projection, right? So we can see the other the way that we choose to see them. I see you as beautiful, incredibly capable, a woman who has mastered her craft and built an entire platform that serves in supporting and healing others and offering these teachings in a way that is open and inclusive, and you're pioneering, right? You're constantly creating and doing more. And at the same time, you're also a woman who's facing herself and the things she needs to do to continue to evolve beyond where she's been before, right? I don't know how long you've been doing Astrology Hub, but you're not the same woman you were at the beginning. It's just like, and you have a new perspective that you're sort of opening the door to now, trying different things and experimenting with things and learning how to listen within to, okay, yeah, there's a lot of external feedback. It's so great when people give us external feedback and validation. And in this case, Saturn is often, giving us the feedback of like, this doesn't work. It can be that critical feedback, but it's also the inner wisdom of becoming really discerning of who we're listening to, going back to that master teacher. And so you can listen to your audience and really receive an immense amount of feedback. And at the end of the day, it comes back to you to decide, what do I do with this? Mm-hmm. It's the same way if we get a reading from an astrologer and there's profound wisdom offered, it comes back to, what do I do with this? Mm-hmm. What do I choose to integrate? What do I choose to learn? And relationship is one of those teachers where if we've worked on our communication skills and okay, I've really struggled with that. I really suck at that. And I'm working on it. And then we go back into relationship and we fail again. Failure can actually be one of the most beautiful teachers. And it can be an opening into a way of, oh, I get it, that I've been trying to learn the right lesson from the wrong teacher. Now, who do I need to learn from?
So what you're saying is that throughout this week, we have a lot of an internal process happening, and there's adjustments and shifts and perspective changes that we are, hopefully, all of us choosing to participate in for ourselves. When the moon goes into Libra, that new perspective, maybe it's even something more solid, like a new plan, a new way of engaging in the world or whatever it is, it gets put to the test because it comes back to us from an external source. So whether that's in a relationship or something happens in your work or your day, which makes it hard for you to do the new thing that you said you were going to do or that you committed to doing. And so we get to see, okay, how aligned am I really with this? I always think of it in terms of frequency. Like each iteration of ourselves exists at a certain frequency band or level. And as we're dreaming into who we're becoming, that version of ourselves already exists in a different frequency band. And so the process of manifestation or creation is really just aligning with a different frequency. And so in this week, we're having this opportunity to hone and choose which frequency we want to exist at. And then we're going to have tests to see whether or not we're actually there yet. And that's not with judgment. It's just feedback. It's just information, like you said, that we're constantly getting information. And then if you have that Libra moon test and you realize that you're not exactly where you want to be, then it's okay. What additional perspective do I need? What additional insights do I need? How can I further refine to be more in alignment with the person that I know I'm becoming? Is that essentially what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Libra moon trines Saturn, right? So these are long-term maturities. And actually, if we think about failure as being a really welcome gift, it is the one thing that gives us the opportunity to get stronger, to try again, to meet ourselves with more compassion, to, our humbling experiences, our pain, our challenges, even those relationships, especially that most challenge us, can be the place where the softening of us over time naturally happens. And that's what we really want to become. What you were saying about becoming the person that is already in that frequency, right? She already exists. They already exist. There isn't anything inside of us, anything that we're capable of that wasn't programmed in us from the very beginning. I believe in that inherent intelligence existing inside of us all of the time. And we're simply just like in a learning process. I kind of think of it like getting to know your future self, And if you don't know, if the person that you know of yourself to be today isn't necessarily where you want them to be, or they're not doing, or they don't feel the way that you want to feel, right? There is a process. As we're coming into the end of this week, it's like Sun trine Jupiter, right? There are so many blessings lining the road of our mistakes, of our hurt, of our pain. And if we're simply just like crying in our hands, we're not looking down at the road, seeing like, oh, there's these little jewels coming from my tears. There's these little gifts in my life. My failures have been making me more strong, more clear, more devoted, more loving, more open than ever before. And thank God for that, because, if we came from a past where we were tense and uncomfortable or hurt or, challenged by life, and we're walking towards a future where we're more resilient, more evolved, more self-aware, and more empowered, then we want to be doing what we can to be picking up the nourishment that's coming from our path and taking it in and saying, thank you. Yes. I love your perspective on gratitude, and, just holding that prayer as we're walking through whatever it is that is challenging us right now.
Wow, Michelle. I mean, the other gift that comes from those times is compassion. I even think back to the way I was with my mom growing up. I don't think I was super compassionate towards her when she would have episodes with her back. I just kind of, oh, mom's has a back thing again. And experiencing that from my own daughters, it's like, oh, wow. Like I now have a different level of compassion for all suffering, all physical pain, all, these things that are debilitating, because I'm experiencing it on some level. So I think that the compassion that comes from it, in addition to the awareness and the empowerment and all that, it just, like you said, it makes us more human. It makes us softer. It makes us have a different level of maturity. So yes, gratitude for all of it, even though in the moment it's just like, God, this sucks. When's it going to be over?
Well, that's where it's like, oh, thank God we can laugh, right?
Yes.
You can find some humor you know, this is why comedians use like the darkness of life in order to bring laughter and break up the energy, because,
Yeah.
you know, what else is there to do when you realize the path that I'm on is only bringing me towards more love? If this relationship or this job or my health, some aspect of my life is causing me pain, if I'm struggling and suffering, one, I am absolutely learning what it takes to love life as it is. And I'm simultaneously creating the space to do something new. And we're talking about things that our ancestors weren't able to do, but we are. And if I'm doing that with even a smidgen of laughter or a smile on my face, then it, you know, it's worth everything.
My love always says, if you can laugh about it, it doesn't own you. So when you get to that point where you can laugh, it's like, okay, I'm free from this thing being a burden on me. And he also was saying that there's a difference between being in pain and being in suffering. It's two very different frequencies. And when you can get to that point of like laugh at myself, then you're experiencing pain, but you're not suffering. You know, there's just a difference. So, okay. So you mentioned some things about the end of the week. Are we already there? Are we in the astrology for Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah. Sunday, the sun trines Jupiter, and then, Mercury and Venus come together at 5 degrees Sagittarius, and they start into next week, you know, and I'll leave that there, but they start a little journey together. And this is where I was talking about that integration of heart and mind, you know, and taking the wisdom that we've gotten out of these times into our just self perception, our self reflection, our actual, you know, lived practice. And realizing that like this moment is exactly as it should be. The places, the people, the journey that I'm being called onto now, especially if we're going back, like we're going to visit family or we're facing things from the past. This is absolutely here because I'm answering to a new master teacher and I have a new curriculum that I'm ready for. And I love that statement, I'm ready. That's been a big, I paint a lot, and I'm often, you know, painting the visions that I have of the future. And on all of my paintings, I've been signing them, I'm ready, you know, even if it's not what's happening now, I'm in the process of becoming, I'm in the process of readying myself for the vision that I have of the future, for the life that I desire, for what is calling me, because we wouldn't have a calling if it wasn't calling us.
I love that. I love your I'm ready. And I love your I'm ready on every painting. That's just, and you're painting of the future. So many of us did the Aries new moon treasure map in the spring. And I just invite you to go and look at that treasure map now, because we're past Libra, we're moving into the solstice. Like we're coming into the period of time where a lot of those visions that we created then are coming to fruition, or we have already experienced them. And I've heard from people in the audience saying, oh my gosh, so many things that I put on my treasure map, which is basically a vision board, have come true. Like, are we going to be doing this again in March? Can we do it again? It's like, yes, absolutely. Because I'm having the same experience, but just reflect too on some of these things Michelle has been speaking about. Who have you become in order to experience those visions that you put on your treasure map? What have you let go of? What new habits or thought processes or relationships have you cultivated in order to bring those things about? They didn't just happen. They didn't just magically appear. You, along the path, you have been becoming the person. You have been ready. And you even doing the treasure map or the vision board or the painting, that is actually already such a statement of I'm ready. And then that continual I'm ready, which might include some painful things happening in the moment in order for you to experience that thing that you have asserted that you want, that vision for your life. It doesn't always just come, magically with no letting go and no having to get thrown on your back for, 5 days so that you can learn the lesson. There's all these things that come along with becoming the person that you're here to become. So, Michelle, I love this so much. Is there anything you want to add about the astrology for the week?
Yeah. One last thing. With Jupiter and Neptune in trine to that Sun Venus, it can be a bit of realizing, oh, I've got all the things that I wished for, and I'm a little overwhelmed. Like all of a sudden realizing this is what I wanted and I got what I wanted. And if this is the perfect time to really reevaluate our desires, and if there are things that we got that we wanted that we really called in, that we weren't, we haven't become the person that we wanted to be, this is the perfect time to forgive yourself and start again. It's the perfect time to say, wow, I got that. Of course, manifestation 101, you get what you wanted. You should be satisfied and happy. But if you're not, it doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It's actually an opportunity for a reevaluation of what you value and what you desire. And it's okay for it to give you new information.
Yes. Okay. So let's go through the week. Essentially, we're finding a buoy. This is a week of a little bit of a reprieve from the very tumultuous eclipse season that we just left, essentially. I mean, we're still in it, reverberation always, but we're finding a buoy in deep emotional saturation. And this is a time that we're going to be able to start to unwind the events of the last few weeks and the lessons of the last few weeks. You did say that this is some longer term hindsight will be available to us eventually, but we are going to start to have some clarity around the lessons. And that a lot of the things that have come up are some of the most stubborn or sticky patterns that we've inherited or that we've developed through our lifetime. So expecting them to just magically disappear, it's probably not going to work that way. There's this question of who is my master teacher, and that you have a choice. And if you want to continue, you have a choice on which teacher you want to follow. And I love the examples you gave there. Monday is watery energy. This is an opportunity to see the blessings and the discomfort. Tuesday, this is a moment, kind of like a culminating in our journey moment. There's things that are done that we get to leave in the past. And this is a great day to really be mindful of what you don't need to take with you anymore. What baggage have you been carrying that you can let go of? On Wednesday, this is an opportunity to distill pain into wisdom. And we don't need to take as much stuff with us as we've been carrying. Thursday, wisdom, love, and thinking line up. So wisdom, love, and our thoughts line up. And this is an opportunity to realign inner will with a new way of thinking. And we're writing a new chapter. This is an opportunity to capture the narrative that is in your thought process and start to write a different story. And yes, you might become aware of things where it's like, wow, I'm not thinking right about that, or I'm not thinking clearly about that. So again, catch that and rewrite it. Friday, this is an opportunity. This is a test to see where there's still some gaps in your thought processes or in the way that you're doing things. This is relational wisdom. So I love this. Pay attention to the blessings that are lining the road of our hurt, and that you may look down and see that your tears are jewels coming. There's jewels coming from your tears, and that your failures are making you more clear, more strong, more open. This is an opportunity to find that gratitude for those things. Saturday and Sunday, I kind of like got merged for me. And basically the things that came into is wisdom turning into new self-perception. This moment is as it should be. The places I'm being called to now are here because I'm answering to that new teacher. If you're feeling overwhelmed, forgive yourself. You can start again. reevaluate your values and your desires. So if you're overwhelmed by the things that you've wanted to bring into manifestation, this is an opportunity to say, okay, I thought I wanted this, but maybe I want a different version of this. Maybe my values are different now. What am I wanting to call forth next? And that is essentially our week. Yeah, Michelle?
It's a great week ahead.
Great week ahead. We also have this week Practical Astrological Magic with Jen's Art. That is actually happening tomorrow, the workshop. So all these things around creation and manifestation, all the different lessons that we learn as we're on that path of realizing our ability to co-create with the universe. You're going to get to put that into a very tangible practice through this workshop with Jen. So if you're interested in joining us, this would be a great time to join. This is going to be the last time the price that it's at right now will be available. So if you're interested in practical astrological magic and how to use it, this would be a great time to jump on board. The link for that is astrologyhub.com/magic. Again, the workshop's tomorrow, Tuesday, and then the live Q&A is the following day. Of course, it's all recorded. You have access to it to revisit over and over. But again, just to get that price, now would be a great time to jump into the class and be a part of that experience. Michelle, it is so lovely to be here with you. Such an incredible distillation of the energies, and then also your very unique wisdom that you bring to the way that you practice astrology and just the way that you integrate astrology into your world. It is very palpable. Thank you for sharing that with all of us here. You're such a gift to us at Astrology Hub. And thanks to all of you for being a part of our community, for tuning into the weekly weather, and as always, for making astrology a part of your life. We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. And thanks again, Michelle, for being here with us. All right, take care, everybody.